The disciples had been following Jesus around for quite a while now. They'd seen him heal people, get rid of evil spirits, teach people how to live, and more besides. Jesus decided it was their turn. He told them they had God's power over illness and evil spirits. I want you to go travelling and tell everyone the good news. Don't take anything with you at all. No spare clothes, no bag, no food, no money. Can you imagine? Only one pair of pants? Oh dear. When you arrive at a town, he went on, if people are nice to you and offer you a place to stay, then stay there. If they're not nice and don't want you to stay, just leave. Sounds fair to me. And so they did. Jesus' 12 mates went off with nothing, healing people and telling them all about Jesus. You'd think this would be a pretty awesome thing to do, and that everyone would want a disciple in their village. But not if you happen to be Herod. People kept telling Herod that incredible things were happening all over the place. The things he heard set him off wondering. Who was this Jesus guy? Was he John the Baptist who had come back to life? Was he an ancient prophet who'd come back with another message? Herod decided that he would have to go and find Jesus, see for himself what all the fuss was about.
A while later, Jesus' mates came back, still in the same pants. Ew. And excited to tell him about their travels. They had so much to say. Jesus took them to a little village called Bethsaida, where they could be alone. As usual, though, they weren't alone for long. The locals soon figured out that Jesus was there. And they told their friends, who told their friends, who told their friends, who told their friends. Thousands and thousands of people all gathered round. And Jesus, awesome as ever, took his time to speak to them all and healed so many of those who weren't well. After a while, the disciples started to get stressed out. They were worried about all these people. They were going to need somewhere to sleep and something to eat. And actually, their tummies were starting to rumble too. We're in the middle of nowhere, Jesus. What are we going to do? You sort them out, said Jesus. But we only have 5 bread rolls and 2 skinny fish. We'd have to spend a fortune just to get a mouthful for each of them. Jesus looked at the disciples' faces and smiled and said, "Okay, tell everyone to sit down in groups of 50. Jesus picked up the bread rolls and the skinny fish and looked up towards heaven. He said a prayer, and then he pulled the rolls apart and broke the fish and gave it to his mates. Go and share this out, he said. What do you think happened next? A few people got some breadcrumbs and the odd fishtail. B, the first group ate all the bread and the fish. C, the disciples ate all the bread and the fish for themselves. D, there was a big fight because everyone was tired and hungry. Or E, something else.
The disciples kept on handing out food. Every time that they thought they'd run out, there was more. The entire crowd ate as much as they possibly could, And even then they ended up with 12 baskets of leftovers. And not just manky fish bones and breadcrumbs, but proper, tasty leftovers. How did that happen? A few days later, Jesus was taking some time out. He needed a bit of space so that he could chat with his heavenly dad. Of course, he wasn't alone for long, because his mates were just always full of questions. But today, Jesus had a question for them. Who do people say I am? Oh, people say all sorts of things. Sometimes they say that you're John the Baptist, back from the dead, or maybe a prophet from hundreds of years ago. Who do you think I am? Asked Jesus. You're the one who came to save us. You've been sent by God, said Peter. You could tell he was proud of himself. Shh. Don't say that to anyone, Jesus replied. Things are going to be difficult soon. They have to be. The leaders here, the Pharisees, the priests, they're going to hurt the Son of Man. They're going to kill him, but 3 days later, he'll be alive again. Who's the Son of Man? Jesus is talking about himself here. But it's interesting that he doesn't just say so. When Jesus calls himself the Son of God, he wants us to remember that he's not just a normal human, but he's 100% God. And when he calls himself the Son of Man, well, that helps us to remember that he's not just God, that he's 100% human too. It's one of the reasons why Jesus is so special. Anyway, back to the story. Following me isn't easy. You can't think about yourself all the time. You've got to make sacrifices every day. If you try to save yourself, you'll destroy yourself instead. If you give your life to me, then you'll be saved. What do you win if you have everything that you ever wanted, but you've wasted your whole entire life? If you're not proud of me, then the Son of Man won't be proud of you when he comes back to judge you. Some of you listening to me today will still be here when God shows up. Wow, well, that was quite the speech. And it all sounded pretty important. But Jesus' disciples, they still weren't quite sure what Jesus was talking about. I wonder if we do.